Hello there and a warm welcome along to today's United Kingdom talk. Back in the garden today, it's a beautiful day. Still a bit chilly at the moment. Here we are sort of halfway through April now. Still a little bit chilly. Although I gather it's going to be in its 70s at the weekend. Mind you, they've got that wrong enough times, haven't they? Now, where is this cloud of ash? I'm looking everywhere. What's all that about? We've got the planes at the moment. Well, not at the moment. They're taking off again now. But for a week, we had no planes taking off and landing, nearly a week, 6 days I think it was, because of this big ash clouds in the sky. Now, what I don't understand, right, is they tell us it's very high up. So we aren't affected here at ground level. So people like myself, for example, with asthma, I shouldn't be affected by it because it's so high. But don't you think that if the ash cloud was up there, it doesn't matter how high it was, it would at least block out some of the sun? You know, you'd notice, you'd look up and see, I don't know, some sort of grey or black up there, wouldn't you? And yet, you know, nothing. The sky still looks blue to me and has done so since all the planes were unable to take off and land here in the UK. Something, once again, that the Icelanders have done to it. They must really hate us in Iceland. That's all I can think. And talking of Iceland, I still have no news of Robert. I do not know what's happened to Robert in Iceland suddenly. He's kind of disappeared. Please, if anyone knows him and knows he's all right, do write to the show and let us know, OK? My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I should have put my sunglasses out here. I don't think I've even got them in the house. I think I left them in the car. So I might be squinting a bit today. My shirt, incidentally, I'm wearing a rather nice purple shirt today. It may look a bit tight because I've got a T-shirt on underneath because it's a little bit chilly. All right, so just in case you thought I'd put on weight, I haven't. I just weighed myself before I came onto the show today. I'm now weighing exactly 13 stone. OK, so we've got another small drop of about, I think, 0.6 of a pound or something like that. I'm exactly 13 stone. So I'm kind of hoping that this time, next week, we may hit the below 13 stone level, and I shall be over the moon, dear. Over the moon. Now, since we last spoke, I have once again pulled the muscle in my pectoral. It's not so bad now because it's been a few days since we spoke. But, yeah, once again, I've pulled this, and I'm starting to wonder now, why do I keep pulling this one? You know, what's going on there? Is it because I don't let it heal properly? Because I've got to admit, you know, now I feel today like I could go swimming. Do we think really perhaps I should wait perhaps a couple of weeks until it feels completely, because it doesn't feel normal yet. It still feels like there's something wrong there. It's not too painful at the moment. You remember the one I had back in January, and it was hurting me to breathe and cough, and I couldn't sneeze. It's not as bad as that. Nevertheless, it's not fully recovered. I still can feel it if I move. Here, I can feel that there. If I can move my arm in a particular way. So maybe I'm just wondering if it's because I'm trying to do things. I mean, I don't have to go swimming, do I? I could go for a long walk or a cycle or something like that where I'm not using my arms so much. I don't know what to do about it. I have, of course, just been to my sister's. I arrived back yesterday. Unfortunately, same thing happened as at Christmas. I had to come back about half a day early because once again, my asthma kicked off big time up there because she's got the dogs and cats. She's got 3 dogs and 3 cats, and they just play havoc. Within minutes of me walking into the house, it starts, and it doesn't stop. Anyway, I've been back now about 24 hours, and it's just calmed down now, although my voice might sound a little bit deep and husky today. Does it? Is that doing anything for you? Deep, husky voice? It might do something for my singing voice. I'll tell you about my sisters on the next show, OK? Because we've got a lot of emails that have been building up while I've been away. Although I haven't been away to you, have I? I mean, I have been away, but not to you, because we kind of got a few shows done in advance. So, yes, I don't like to disappear, you know that. I am as regular as your bowels, and possibly open up even further than that. Eh? Now, with this deep, husky voice, I wonder if it's going to make my singing voice any different, because we need to sing today. This is the closest show to Brenda's birthday. Good morning, Brenda, in Lancaster. This is Brenda from Lancaster. Just a quick email with a simple request. My birthday is on April the 28th, and I would be humbled if you would do me the honour of serenading me with a little song. So for you, Brenda, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brenda. Happy birthday to you. Now, Brenda, I notice you don't put your age on here, darling. There's no mention of your age on here. Some reason for that, lovey? Are you over 20? I think you must be. Why is it ladies over certain ages, they don't like saying their ages, eh? All right, happy birthday, Brenda. Hope you have a lovely time. Will you be going out and doing anything? Eh? Do let me know what you do and what you get up to. And was it anything naughty? Or was it just a quiet day? My birthdays tend to be very quiet. My birthday's in February on the 5th. And I don't do anything really. It's just like a normal day. I do miss the wonderful cakes that Mum and Dad used to buy me for my birthdays. And you know, at the time, you don't appreciate it as a child, do you? Now I do. God, I'd give anything to have my mum and dad walk into the living room with a birthday cake, as they used to do. But when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, God, no, not again. And it's all an embarrassment, isn't it? Why is that? Funny, isn't it? It's like, you know, my nephew Jimmy, 13. When I go up to visit him, I threaten him that I'm going to go to his school and pick him up in front of all his friends from school. And say, no, meet me at so-and-so. He doesn't want me to come to the school and pick him up in the car. What's all that about? And it's the same with his mum. Can't have his mum come to school and pick him up and be seen by all his friends. It's a bit mad, isn't it? Why are we like that as teenagers? All very strange. So happy birthday, Brenda. Let us know what you get up to, OK? My email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. It's actually quite warming up very, very nicely here today, I must say. Although on my tomato plants, I've put some fleece over them. Oh, God, that was a job and a half. Gardeners anywhere, do you remember the first time you put a bit of fleece over your plants? It's really hard to get the blooming thing down. So this fleece, it came in like a white, actually I've got some more in the shed. Let me get the fleece out for you. And then I can describe it a bit more while I'm looking at it. And those of you that watch the show can see it as well. It's like I suppose it's like a large piece of paper, really. 1 minute. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh, it's still in the bag, this one. Right. There we go. Right. Sit back down there. Ooh. Right, so I bought this fleece from the local DIY place, Sainsbury's Home Base. Not cheap. Let me tell you, this wasn't cheap. It was about £7 for this. And it comes in a little plastic bag. And it almost looks like a thin white piece of paper. There it is. And it is very, very thin. But it protects your plants against the frost. Okay, comes folded up like that. And it unfolds to a size of 4.5 metres by 2.2 metres. And the idea is, because it's so light, you can just drape it over your plants and peg it down. And it comes with these plastic pegs, right? Which I have to say are blooming useless. You put them into the ground at an angle and they will snap. You know, they're only very, very weak plastic, not well made at all, those. And the fleece, well, the slightest bit of wind and it just keeps blowing completely out of place. I found it very, very difficult to do. But what I've done with mine, I've put it over the tomatoes. Now, I'd already staked my tomatoes. I've already got sticks next to all the tomatoes behind me. So I had to put the fleece over the sticks as well. And as I'm doing it, these sticks were just poking through the top. So eventually I pulled it down over all the sticks. So now the thing's got all holes in it. And I found it very, very difficult to do that. Have we got any gardeners anywhere? Ever had any experience using that fleece stuff? I mean, I'm sure it's very good. Since it's been on there, my tomato plants, because they're only young, haven't been affected by the frost, because we've still got frosts at night here at the moment in the UK. And they're still alive, so it's obviously doing the job. But blimey, that's a real effort getting that thing on, dear. It really is. Right, emails. First of all, a new listener and viewer. Oh yes, someone that I worked with years, and it must be 15 years ago or more, possibly. Chris, hello Chris, who says, he posted this on my Facebook wall. My Facebook name, incidentally, if you want to join me on Facebook, is Chris Reardon UK. All right, Chris Reardon UK is my Facebook name. And Chris says, oh Chris, you do make me laugh, dear. I'm going to count next time how many times you say dear. Do I say that a lot? Do I really, dear? I don't mean to. It's just the way I talk. If you're not in the UK and you're abroad somewhere, you probably think everyone talks like me, dear. Well, we do. If you come into the UK, just make sure that every time you have a conversation with someone, you finish the sentence with dear. All right, dear? And then you'll be fine. You'll be accepted. Doesn't matter where you're from, dear. Eh? Just keep throwing in the word dear here and there. Chris is a first-time listener. Give us a mention soon, and I'll tell all your viewers how good my act was. ABC. Do you remember, dear? Yes, of course I remember. ABC. I think I joined a place. I was working at a place in Camden Town, and I think, if I'm right in remembering, I actually joined that pub as you were kind of coming towards the end of the act, weren't you? I think it carried on for another couple of years, but you must have been going a lot longer than the 2 years that I was putting you on and taking you off the stage. Anyhow, keep entertaining. Love you lots, dear. Thank you, Chris. How wonderful. You see, this is wonderful, isn't it? Eh? Being able to catch up with old friends on the old Facebook, dear. Eh? How old are you now then, Chris? Cool, dear. You must be knocking on a bit now, ain't you? Huh? Do you remember that young, very good-looking DJ standing there in a DJ box, shirtless? Yes, that was me, wasn't it? Oh, yes. Wonderful. I did actually quite fancy you at one point, Chris, but I was warned off by Nikki Vixen. She said she wouldn't be interested in me, so that's it. So it never happened, did it, dear? Anyway, you should get your act together. Get out there and start doing shows again. You were fantastic. So much better than some of the stuff we have on there. Of course, no names mentioned here. Absolutely no name, not at least while I'm working with you lot. I would never dream of naming anything. However, if I ever stop working on the cabaret circuit and start doing other things, well, which is actually happening now, I do the karaoke, and as you know, I work in some straight places. I do three nights in straight places now. Okay, if it ever goes that way, there'll be no holding back. I mean, there really won't. I'll be able to sit here and tell you who I worked with, who used to sing in tune, who I worked with, who doesn't sing in tune. And it's not necessarily the new ones, dear. Oh, no. Some of those cabaret acts that have been around for a few years, some of them have lost the will to sing, I think, dear. I think that was what it would be. Lost the will to sing. What are their names? Oh, dear, dear, dear. No, love. No, I will not be revealing those names on this particular programme. You'll have to wait until I leave the circuit. Absolutely. It'll be another few years yet, dear. And at least another 30 years before I leave the circuit. And then we'll have a special show where I'll be revealing exactly what I think of what acts. We'll have a big list in front of me. We'll have the ones that were prima donnas, thought they were better than they really are. The ones who were really nice. The ones who are an absolute pain to work with. Where do you think you fit in, Chris? Which one of those three do you fit in? Who's one of my favourites to work with now? Do you really want to know? Yeah, Titti La Camp. Richard. Titti La Camp is the drag act's name. His real name is Richard. Best, I would say he is my favourite person to work with. And has been so for a number of years. I don't work with him enough. I only work with him, unfortunately, now at one venue. And I do miss, and I work with him so rarely, maybe 8 times, 10 times a year, that's it. Which is a great shame. I do miss doing all the cabaret stuff. So thanks for that, Chris. Nice to hear from you, darling. All right. Okie doke. Email time then. Let me see, where we're going. We want to get these in the correct order. All right, via YouTube then. These are from Packjim, few messages from Packjim, commenting on the show of the Tuesday the 20th of April. We were talking about Buckingham Palace. It's not Buckingham Palace, it's Buckingham Palace. Buckingham. And Packjim 56 says, yes, Chris, I absolutely agree. It should be pronounced Buckingham Palace with the enunciation on the ham as in ham and eggs. No, it's not, dear. That's incorrect, Packjim. He says it's not polite to ignore the sound of your H's. They don't like it. If the English want to ignore their H's, they shouldn't use them. I beg your pardon, dear. I beg your pardon, telling me how to say English. What a liberty, dear. He says one more thing. Leicester Square should be spelt L-E-S-T-E-R Square. Even if I, the Earl, had been a person of great importance historically, despite the mispronunciation of his or her earldom, his earldom. No, it's not. It's Leicester. L-E-I-C-E-S-T-E-R Square. Leicester, dear. That's how it's spelt. But you say it Leicester. I'm sorry. This is the United Kingdom we're speaking from here, Packjim. Some of the H's aren't pronounced. Some of the spellings don't look how they should be. But the point is, dear, we here in the United Kingdom are intelligent enough to understand this. That's why in America you've put all the H's and everything in, because you're not intelligent enough to understand this, dear. That's what it is, isn't it? I'm winding you up today. No, it is. It's Buckingham Palace. You don't say ham. It's not Buckingham. It's Buckingham. Buckingham Palace. Say it, dear. After the tone, Buckingham Palace. Doot. Try again. Buckingham Palace. Doot. Yeah, it's not hard, is it? I think Packjim. I don't know how old you are. I think judging from your username, Packjim 56. Is that when you were? I think you're cracking on a bit there, aren't you? Eh? I think you're going to have some English lessons. You know, if you're not intelligent enough, when not to say the H's and when to write names and things which are actually spelt different to what they say. We can understand it here in the UK, dear. Gordon Brown would be able to do it for you. Eh? Packjim also writes, please do ignore the I in the last sentence of the last comment. It's not a H and won't mind being ignored. Now, what was the I? What's he say? The I in the last sentence of the last comment, which historically dependent of the is earldom. Of the his... And I won't mind, but I should carefully proof my contents before I push post comment button. Sorry. Well, you know, I mean, it's very amateur, really, to be on this Packjim. Please do check your spelling and everything before you send it through. I can't afford to pay secretaries to check all my writings before I read them out. Okay? And then he goes on to comment on the Thursday the 15th of April video, which is the one before that. And he says, Chris, a bit of advice. Shirts with pockets on the front, one of which I have now, are good for holding small packets of Kleenex tissues. Comes in quite handy for sniffy noses. Yes, I've actually got a small tissue in my pocket today. Just a small one. I shall place it in my top pocket on your advice, Packjim. Thank you very much. He says, once baby sat a rattlesnake in my apartment. It was kept in a large wooden and wire mesh cage in my kitchen. My cat kept causing it to rattle by pawing at the wire mesh. The thing gave me nightmares. I was so glad when its owner came back to reclaim it. Never volunteer to babysit a snake, especially ones that rattle. Oh no, I don't think I'd like that. On the other hand, I must say, not keen of animals in cages at all, I'm afraid. You know, I don't care if they are snakes or whatever. If it's a snake or a tarantula spider, you know, where people have got those in glass boxes, I just think that's nasty. I think that's cruel. If an animal is too wild or too dangerous to keep, then quite frankly, you shouldn't be keeping it. I really don't like animals in cages. And anything, mice, hamsters in cages, don't like. Goldfish in bowls, don't like. They're not born. These things were not born for us to sit there and look at them through a glass. I do think it's awful. And Packjim also says again on the video, Thursday the 15th of April, just so you know, Chris, it was me that gave your video a thumbs up, not the person that gave you the thumbs down. When I criticise, I do so constructively, in a positive manner, not in a negative manner, as in a thumbs down. Overall, I enjoyed the show despite no sniffling. Like that. I very much like the bee banter, and I like cats too. Well, my cat is at the moment on the floor over there. Katie! But she's cleaning at the moment. Katie! You want to come up here? Katie! I think she's coming. Where we are. We are honoured. Come on, Katie. Nope, she's not. Nope, she's walked off the other way. Yeah, the thumbs up and thumbs down, those of you that don't know, on my videos, you can say whether you like or dislike a video and you can click over. I'm actually not led by anything like that. I'm not led by numbers. I'm fully aware that I don't have thousands of people watching my shows, but that's okay. It's not about numbers. So people are possessed with numbers, aren't they? It's like whenever we mention, these people that are possessed with how much money they're going to make this time. Now, don't be possessed by figures all the time. It's boring. We were not born mathematicians, were we? Is it really important that 8 million people watch a show, or 8? Not really. Would I do the show any differently if there were 8 million people listening? No. It's still the same, isn't it? Still the same me. So, and I say that as well to any young people that may be, or not necessarily young, but anyone watching who may be wanting to do a show, or indeed has just started doing shows. Don't be led by numbers. If 2 or 3 people are listening and watching your show, isn't that worth doing? You are entertaining someone perhaps, or becoming someone's friend. Eh? Of course it's worth doing. Go on, get out there and do it. Don't worry about the numbers, for Christ's sake. I've had a couple of emails that, only, I don't know, 120 people watched. Why do you bother doing it? Because it entertains people. Because I enjoy doing it and people enjoy watching it. If you've got no viewers after a year, then perhaps you should give up. Yeah, I know. Or listeners, whatever. But never be led by numbers. We're not interested. We're not interested in ratings. Not interested to be at the top of the pile. As long as someone enjoys it, I don't mind. Packjim also says, goldfish, because we were talking about carp, and my sister lost a lot of carp because a heron, which is a bird, comes into the garden and nicks them. Funny thing is, exactly the same thing has been happening to my neighbour. My neighbour has a... just a minute now, where am I? My neighbour has a small pond in the garden and a water feature, and it's a beautiful sound, just of the water trickling. And I popped in there last week to tell him that I'd be away for a few days. I always like to keep my neighbour Dave and Karen informed. Lovely, lovely people they are. They have a pond in the garden. It's only a small pond, as I say, but the wildlife that this pond brings in is unbelievable. Little frogs, and those colourful flies. What are they? Dragonflies, that's it. That fly across with the beautiful coloured wings. And all sorts of wildlife this tiny little pond seems to attract. And I do end up with the frogs sometimes on the other side of the garden. Unfortunately, the cat tends to play with them when they do leave the pond. But they do end up in my garden. It's wonderful because frogs are very good. They eat insects. I don't mind them in the garden at all. I think it's wonderful. But he's had the same problem, and a big heron apparently, which I've never noticed, has been stealing all their fish. Yes, it's been stealing the fish, dear. What a cheek. It's not as if they're even paying for it. And he's lost all his fish to the heron. Even with a wire netting, which is, again, as my sister did the same thing. Not a wire netting, like a plastic netting. And she did the same. She had this plastic netting over the pond and everything. And the heron was still managing to nick the fish. Terrible. And what I didn't know, Packjim says, goldfish are actually carp. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Really didn't know that. If you release them into a larger body of water, such as a lake, they will turn white and get quite large. Now, I didn't know this. That's if, of course, they're not eaten first. Ooh, I don't know if I'd like to eat a goldfish. Are they edible? Can you eat carp? Can you eat goldfish? I don't know. On a side note, do they have music halls in England anymore? Or did they phase them out with the vaudeville? I don't know. I don't think they have music halls here anymore. You would think there'd be one or two of them still existing, or probably they would have turned into theatres or something like that, I would guess. You sound like a music hall singer. Do you think so? Well, I actually sing. You know, I do this music and chat show every morning. To find out more about that, go to my main United Kingdom Talk website. Okay, you'll see it in all the posts. UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk. You'll find out about my music and chat show there that I do every morning at 11 o'clock UK time. And in that show, I do singing. I always sing a song around about 1:45 midday UK time. And I do prefer to sing stuff like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Andy Williams. Not so good on the Beyonce and the Britney Spears, I'm afraid. I do like that. Is it called Rat Pack? You know, the Rat Pack. I like that sort of music to sing. Fly me to the moon and let me love the stars above. That sort of thing, you know. Can't take my eyes off of you. That sort of thing. I'm not too bad at that. When it comes to the modern stuff, I'm completely useless. And don't even ask me to try the rapping stuff. Waste of time. Anything by Pied Piper or anything like that, useless. By the way, Chris, horses aren't always the sweet, inoffensive animals that you might think. Some can be quite dangerous, especially the highly inbred ones, show horses. They can be very highly strung. What you mean, sort of completely full of themselves, think they're better than everyone else? Is that what they're a bit like, the show horses? You can imagine that, can't you? Thank you, Packjim. And one more message from Packjim, I think. We got two more. Excuse me, I meant some can be quite dangerous. Sorry for the typing errors. Typed last comment in haste. That's 2 errors today, Packjim. We're not impressed. Please check your writings. And he says, if you move to Paris, I hope that doesn't mean your show will end. The French actually have the internet and YouTube too, you know. Oh, do they? Yeah, but the trouble is they probably go on strike all the time, like the rest of the country. The French are very good for going on strike. I don't know, why did you think I was moving to Paris? Now, I did mention in a previous show that there might be a job coming up in Paris for me. Okay? But actually moving there, no, I've no intention of moving to Paris. I don't think I could ever leave this house I'm in. I do seem very, very attached to this house. Don't know why. Even when I go away, I can't wait to get back here. And that's the truth. I love this place where I am, and the garden, and of course my cat. Anyway, time for me to go, boys and girls. Don't forget, do join in on the email. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. From the Mirable Studios in the garden. No, from the Royal Berkshire Garden. Does that sound right? Not really, does it? See you on the next show. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.